How well does Lenovo's new Legion 5 gaming laptop actually perform in games? To find out, I've tested it in 10 different games at all setting levels, I've compared it against other gaming laptops, and I've also upgraded the memory to see what sort of a speed boost is on offer. My Legion 5 has an 8-core AMD Ryzen 7 5800H processor, NVIDIA RTX 3060 graphics, 16 gigs of memory and dual channel, and a 1080p 165Hz screen. There are also other cheaper configurations available though. You can find examples and check updated prices with those links down in the description. Now, as was the case with the more expensive Lenovo Legion 5 Pro, the regular Legion 5 does use that slower X16 memory, or at least the configuration that I've got here that I bought with my own money came with that memory. You can refer to this video if you want the details, but essentially it should be possible to get a speed boost in games by upgrading the memory. Due to all the supply issues at the moment, a lot of laptop manufacturers seem to be sticking to that slower memory. Anyway, I've tested both so that we can see the difference. The Lenovo Vantage software, the control panel for the laptop, gives us the option to enable or disable panel overdrive. This is meant to affect screen response time, but I didn't see a difference with it on or off. So not sure if it's a bug, but with it on, I was seeing under 7 milliseconds for average gray-to-gray response time. It's not looking super amazing when compared to other laptops. Even the 145Hz Legion 5 from last year was more than a couple of milliseconds faster. So maybe the overdrive mode isn't properly working, but hey, it's still ahead of the 165Hz panel in the Blade 14. The total system latency is also on the lower side compared to others, but again, the slower screen response time will contribute here. This is the total amount of time between a mouse button press and when the gun fires in CSGO. Now, in a GPU-only stress test, I confirmed that the RTX 3060 in my Legion 5 could run up to 130 watts. But with the processor also under heavy stress test, this would lower to 115 watts. So basically, it's a full-powered RTX 3060, according to the NVIDIA spec sheet at least. The Vantage software offers different performance profiles. I've done all testing with the highest performance mode enabled for best results. By default, there's no overclocking applied. However, it is possible to go into the BIOS and manually enable GPU overclocking. I haven't done this though, as it's not the default and there's no option to enable it through the software. Where possible, I try to test with defaults, and honestly, I don't think all that many people are going to go into the BIOS manually just to enable GPU overclocking. But if you did turn this on, then maybe you could expect a few frames difference to what I'm showing here. At the end of the day, I don't think it's a big deal that I'm not including it on this laptop, as you can use third-party software like MSI Afterburner to overclock the GPU of pretty much any laptop. So it's not like this is a unique feature of the Legion 5. The Legion 5 has a muck switch, which they call hybrid mode in the Vantage software. This lets us disable or enable the integrated Radeon graphics after a reboot. All of the game benchmarks in this video have been done with hybrid mode disabled for best results. Alright, so let's start out with seeing how well the Legion 5 performs in 10 different games, both with the stock memory and with the memory upgrade. The stock memory that the laptop ships with is on the left, while the memory I've installed and also tested with is on the right. Both sets have two 8GB sticks of DDR4 3200 CL22 memory, and both are single rank. The difference is that the stock memory it ships with has slower timings and X16 banks. After those 10 games, I'll compare the Legion 5 against a bunch of other laptops, or you can time travel at any point with those timestamps down below. Cyberpunk 2077 was tested with the same run through the game. I've got the stock RAM that the laptop actually ships with shown by the red bars, the upgraded memory shown by the purple bars, and all setting presets of the game have been tested with lowest down the bottom and highest up the top. There's a much bigger difference between the memory configurations with the ray tracing presets up the top. Otherwise, at ultra settings, the new memory was just giving a 2 FPS boost, much smaller comparatively. Red Dead Redemption 2 was tested with the game's benchmark. The upgraded memory was around 16% faster with the highest ultra setting preset. The biggest difference seen out of all 10 games tested in terms of percentage at max settings. Though in terms of actual FPS, it's just a 7 to 8 frame difference, with similar changes seen at the lower setting presets too. Assassin's Creed Valhalla was also tested with the game's benchmark, but there was far less of a difference here, basically no real change with small differences one way or the other. Margin of error stuff realistically, so let's move on. Control was tested running through the same part of the game. This is a fairly GPU heavy game, so not too surprising that the average FPS was basically the same at both medium and high settings, with the new memory offering slight gains to the 1% lows. Low settings was reaching 8% higher average FPS with the new memory though. If we enable ray tracing, the new memory at max settings was actually a bit lower than the old memory, though there was basically no change at the lower setting presets. With DLSS enabled, the new memory configuration was back ahead, but it's only an extremely small amount in most instances. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was tested with the game's benchmark and had one of the largest differences out of all games tested. At max settings, the upgraded RAM was offering a 9% boost to average FPS, but 100 FPS at max settings is is honestly still plenty for this test, though the lowest setting preset had a 19% boost to average FPS with the new memory. Microsoft Flight Simulator was tested in the Sydney Landing Challenge, and the new memory was able to offer some improvements here too. We're seeing almost 8% higher average FPS with low-end settings, and about a 7% boost to average FPS at the highest ultra setting preset, which was just able to hit 30 FPS. Watch Dogs Legion was tested with the game's benchmark. Like Control with ray tracing, max settings was slightly ahead with the stock memory. However, this definitely wasn't the case at all of the lower setting levels. Low settings, for instance, was reaching 17% higher average FPS with the new memory. Fortnite was tested with the same replay file both times, so the exact same test passed through the game. Like a lot of other titles tested, much smaller differences at the higher setting presets, presumably as we start becoming less CPU bound where memory matters more. At low settings, the new memory was offering an 8% boost to average FPS, below the 10-game average. CSGO was around 10% faster at minimum settings with the new memory, and about 8.5% faster at max settings with the new memory. Above average gains from this esports title where higher frame rates are typically more important. The gains in Battlefield 5 were smaller with the new memory, but still present. At ultra settings, the average frame rate was just 4% higher, or less than 5 FPS, while at low settings there's an 8% gain with the new memory. On average, out of all 10 games tested, the Legion 5 with the memory upgrade was performing less than 5% faster than the stock memory configuration, so not as big of a difference as I was expecting, but hey, still an easy way to boost gaming performance. As we can see, results really depend on the game. There's a bigger advantage for the memory upgrade if we instead compare the games with the lowest setting preset. This is likely because memory makes a bigger difference to the processor, and the processor is a bigger factor in gaming performance at lower settings where we're less likely to be limited by the GPU. Honestly, if you're getting RTX 3060 graphics at 1080p, you're probably going to be targeting higher settings anyway, so depending on the game, there'll probably be less of an incentive to actually upgrade the memory. I wouldn't say it's necessary, but depending on the game, as we did see, we could get some nice improvements with the new memory. Selling the memory that ships with the laptop and buying new memory for a speed boost in games is definitely an option at least. Now that we've got an idea of what sort of a speed boost is on offer with the upgraded memory, let's see how the Legion 5 stacks up against other laptops. Cyberpunk 2077 was tested in Little China with the Street Kid Life Path on all laptops, and I've got the Legion 5 with stock RAM highlighted in red and the upgraded RAM highlighted in green. The memory change is giving a larger boost to 1% lows than average FPS in this test, but even with stock RAM, this is still the fastest RTX 3060 I've tested so far. The MSI GS76 with lower GPU power limit is about 10 FPS behind, and similar deal for the even lower wattage 3060 in the Zephyrus G14, though that is also much smaller too. Red Dead Redemption 2 was tested with the game's benchmark. There's a bit more of a difference this time between the stock and upgraded RAM. The upgraded Legion 5 was just a few FPS behind the i9 and RTX 3070 in the Zephyrus M16 one position ahead, though the M16 is held back by Optimus. And again, even the stock memory Legion 5 is beating the other 3060 laptops that I've tested so far. Impressively, the Dell G5 with last gen 5600M is close to the 3060s. Control was tested running through the same part of the game on all laptops. There's basically no difference in this GPU-heavy game with the upgraded memory, and we're just a couple of FPS behind the higher spec HP Omen 15 with RTX 3070, presumably due to the Omen's lower GPU power limit and lack of disabling Optimus. The Legion 5 is still the best 3060 result I've got, easily ahead of the lower wattage MSI GS76 and Asus G14 below, and we're reaching more than 60% higher average FPS compared to the last gen Legion 5 with GTX 1660 Ti. I'm actually going to compare the RTX 3060 against the GTX 1660 Ti using my Legion 5. So if you're new to the channel, then make sure you get subscribed for that upcoming future content, as well as for the full review of the Legion 5. Come and join me in Discord and get behind the scenes videos by supporting the channel on Patreon, and come and check out some of my other videos over here next. I'll see you over in one of those.